Hello everyone, I'm Nisya from IPSC 2019. Welcome to my video. In this video, we will discuss about salt. What is salt? Most people will be able to tell that salt is a clear granules that we use to make our food taste better. Well, that is certainly true of table salt sodium chloride. But did you know that salt is actually refers to a very large family of compounds, with many quite different properties and uses. And now, let's talk about salt itself. First is concept and definition of salt. Salt is an ionic compound consisting of positive ions or cations and negative anions, thus forming a neutral compound or without being charged. Salt is formed from the reaction of acids and bases. Salt can be formed when the hydrogen of an acid is partly or completely replaced by a metal ion or ammonium ion. And what I said before, salt is chemically and electrically neutral. And let's move to the cation and anion. The cation tends to be a metal, and in many common examples is one from group 1 or group 2 of periodic table, while the anion is commonly a halide from group 7 or member of group 6 in periodic table. Salt made like this are called inorganic salt. And you might wonder if all salts are small transparent crystals just like table salt. Certainly not. Actually, salt come in many different colors. For the example is sodium chromate has yellow color, potassium permanganate purple, and iron disulfide is metallic gold. And another common mistake is to think that all salt tastes well salty. Again, this is wrong. Some taste is bitter and some even taste sweet. And unfortunately, many it's also poisonous. And what could these salts be used for daily life? The answer is salt used to dye pigment to color our clothes. And if you see the fireworks, the bright colors you can see are produced by burning the salt of various metals. And how to make salts? You might recall learning that an acid plus a base become a salt and water. And that is right for inorganic salt. The reaction is called salt hydrolysis. And now, what is salt hydrolysis? Salt hydrolysis is a reaction in which one of the ions from a salt react with water, forming either an acidic or basic solution. Salt hydrolysis has 4 types. That is, first, salt from strong bases and strong acid. And second, salt from strong bases and weak acid. And the third is salt from strong acid and weak bases. And the last is salt from weak bases and weak acid. And as we learned in acid-base materials that strong acid and base is the one that completely dissociated or ionized in an aqueous solution, while the weak acid and bases are less than 100% ionized in aqueous solution. And the example of strong acid is perchloric acid, hydrochloric acid, hydroiodic acid, nitric acid, hydrobromic acid, and sulfuric acid. And the example of strong base is sodium hydroxide, calcium hydroxide, potassium hydroxide, calcium hydroxide, lithium hydroxide, and barium hydroxide. And the example of weak acid is formic acid, nitrous acid, acetic acid, hydrogen cyanide, and hydrogen fluoride. And the example of weak base, that is ammonia, dimethylamine, and methylamine. And the first type of salt is from strong bases and strong acid. Salt derived from strong bases and strong acid give neutral solution because neither the cation or the anion react appreciably with H2O. For the example is reaction between natrium and chloride become natrium chloride. And the next is salt from strong bases and weak acid. Salt derived from strong bases and weak acid are dissolved in water. The resulting solution are always basic. This is because the anions or weak acid react with water to form hydroxide ion. For the example, the salt from strong bases and weak acid is potassium cyanide. And the third type of salt is salt from strong acid and weak bases. The reaction of the cations of weak bases with water to form non-ionized molecules of the weak base and H3O plus ions. This upsets the H3O plus ion or OH mean balance in water, giving an excess of H3O plus and makes such solution is acidic. And the example of salt from strong acid and weak bases is ammonium chloride. And the last type of salt is salt from weak bases and weak acid. Salt of weak bases and weak acid are the fourth class of salt. Most are soluble. Salt of weak bases and weak acid contain cations that would give acidic solution and anions that would give basic solutions. For the example, the reaction between ammonia and acetic acid and it is become ammonium acetate. And that's all for salt. Thank you and see you in the next topic.